What's up, team? Welcome to Chargers Daily, where every day is a great day to talk Bolts. My name is Chris Cash. It is Wednesday, August 19th, and we should have seen this coming. We should have known. We just cannot avoid the injury bug. 49ers can't help themselves. Anytime the 49ers are in town, something bad's going to happen. So they brought their substation or whatever juju they have, their little injury bug on their long list, and make sure they hit it. The Chargers hard with it because Tyler Batish went down and he was carted off the field. So we should have expected this, guys. I mean, as soon as we get excited, this happen every time. As soon as we get pumped up about something. So if you didn't see the injury, it's hard to see it from a cell phone camera. And basically, somebody rolls behind him, gets him by the knees, and he falls backwards. And when a man of that caliber falls backwards like that, like he's doing a backflip, which I assume he hasn't done a lot of backflips in his day, you know it's not very good. So at the time of this recording, I have no idea how severe the injury is. Here's hoping that it's nothing torn, nothing ripped. So I will give you guys an update on that. I'm sure by the time you're watching this, we will have some clarity on that situation. All right, we got 11 days until roster cut down. We've got 21 days until kickoff of the NFL year, and then we've got 25 more days until the Chargers are kicking off. So huge shout out to Kalshi. They are the official sponsor of Chargers Daily for this year. We'll talk about some bets today. We're going to start with Ball Knower of the Day. So the Ball Knower of the Day is Craig Capley, and I liked what Craig brought to the table. So I was talking yesterday about should players play in the preseason, and this is what he said. I'm fine with ultimately 2 preseason games and 18 regular games, which if you don't know, that's likely the schedule of the NFL moving forward. We're going to have an 18 regular game season. Let the coaches manage their 2 preseason games as they see fit. My main thing would be to get the final rosters up to 60. And do we really need to waste time with 90-plus players at the start of camp? Seems to me, start with 80, end with your best 60, then assemble a 20-man practice squad from whoever clears waivers. That way we don't have to watch 32 teams worth of preseason times 23-ish players. That will have no shot of ever making even a practice squad. So I like that. So basically, the summary is, instead of having 53, we have 60, which the only pushback I have on that, Craig, is that it's going to affect the salary cap. Now, with the salary cap increasing, I think that we could see some diversification with that. But it's a pretty interesting idea because I think that with the way that injuries are happening now, I still think that it should be a little bit higher. I know we have a practice squad, but on a practice squad, those players should get signed by any NFL team at any point. So I kind of like this idea. Starting with 80, kind of know who your real players are. So I thought it was an interesting thought there, Craig. So Ball Knower of the Day award goes to you. But I like that he also said that, look, the coaches can decide how they want to do it. Maybe different coaches are going to have different cultures. Now, if that one coach watches a player get hurt, so be it. But I mean, look at the joint practice. We had somebody get hurt. So it is what it is. Comment of the day goes to Joe Duchess 3434. I'm really bad at pronouncing y'all's name. That's on me. I apologize. He said, as of today, Jake is number 1 center as Tyler just left practice on a cart. Yep, that is correct. In other news, we worked out players. We worked out 4 wide receivers. What are we doing working out receivers? And then we actually worked out quarterback E.J. Warner, who is Kurt Warner's son at quarterback. And then the 4 wide receivers are Elijah Badger, Liam Clifford, Gary Jennings, and Brandon Hayes. So the only one you really need to pay attention to is Brandon Hayes. He was an all-conference kick returner, 6'2", 205 pounds. But again, I don't understand what we're doing. Why are we working out wide receivers? I do not understand why we would need another receiver anywhere close to our team. We've got Brendan Thompson balling out again in practice. And I know you need depth, but I don't understand why we're bringing them in. I guess just to kind of get our depth pieces down, that's fine. All right, so now that I went through with the Batish injury, I decided to do some digging on centers. And I started thinking about, how important are centers? If you think about all the best centers, who are they? I mean, you've got Creed Humphrey, obviously, I think is the sort of the poster boy for the position right now. But most teams don't just have these guys that are in the, very top tier when it comes to offensive line. And so I think the trick is, how do we find a center that's functional? So I checked every Pro Bowl roster from 2006 through 2025, and not one rookie center has been selected. In fact, The last rookie to make the Pro Bowl was Marquise Pouncey in 2010, meaning it's been almost 15 years since a rookie center's made the Pro Bowl. Now, again, the Pro Bowl is not what it used to be, but it is a marker of players that played well at a position. Now, the craziest part about this is that Creed Humphrey, who I mentioned as a rookie in 2021, had a 21.4 PFF grade, and that was the highest graded center in the entire NFL. And guess what? He still did not make the Pro Bowl. So I don't know if it's because their names aren't big enough, the position isn't important enough, but it shows that center just be functional. And do we have that on the roster now? Jake Slaughter is a great center prospect, so I assume that he just moves to center. I think that's what we're going to have to do. Now what happens at left guard? Well, luckily, we've got a competition, and let's really hope that this two good left guards is actually true, and we can just put one on there while we move Slaughter over to center. So that's to be determined. I will take a look at that. We'll go from there. All right, let's talk about the joint practice. So besides the Batish injury, Kyle Kennard was also injured, and Quentin Johnston was injured. Now, Quentin got back up. He seems to be totally fine. As of this recording, there's no major concern with him, so we're good there. One of the people that I like to follow, guys, is Chris Rim. He's the one that does a lot of stuff for ESPN, specifically for the Chargers, so check out Chris Rim. Like what he does, like his reports. He said that basically it's the best offensive practice that he's seen yet. Justin Herbert generated explosive plays throughout the session. Ladd had multiple touchdowns. Herbert rolled out left, found Ladd between two defenders. And David Njoku and Delvon Campbell added a red zone score. So again, guys, Delvon Campbell, I think he's sort of our depth receiver that we need to be kind of just holding on to. He'll probably be on the practice squad. So I don't really understand why we're working out four more wide receivers. It's really, really strange for me. Now the plays, Quentin Johnston had the best play of the day. One-handed grab, fighting through pass interference. It was awesome. Omarion Hampton ran through defenders on two different carries. He looked awesome. Go to X right now and just look at videos on Omarion Hampton. It will get you pumped up because we got to find something to be excited about, guys, because I do not want to be thinking about this Tyler Batish thing all night. So let's get excited. Brendan Thompson caught 2 touchdowns that were more than 50 yards down the field. Boys, we got us a play, and girls. Boys and girls, we got us a playmaker. I mean, Brendan Thompson, if it's not this year, I think that, remember, SEC leader in receiving yards last year. There's some pretty good defenders on those SEC teams. He caught 1 from Herbert and 1 from DJ. So he's got the skills. He's got the burning ability. I want to see it in the regular season, though. Not when half the 49ers are injured and bringing their injury sickness into El Segundo. Get that garbage out of here. So going back, the offensive line was good and bad. So the run blocking was great, but the pass blocking, not so great. So again, this comes down to, what if we put the Coyote on left guard? Now, Coyote's going to be the better pass protector, but not as good as run blocker. And then Slaughter's going to be the better run lineman. So maybe it's a little yin and yang with them next to each other. So we got Slater, Coyote, Slaughter, Cole Strange, Alt on the right side. I don't know. I think we're going to have to start playing around with that. Branson Taylor's been making a name for himself, but the problem is we got to start worried about Slater. Look, I'm wearing his jersey. All right, I'm not taking it off till he comes back. I told my wife, I said, I'm sleeping in it. I'm going to church in it. You know what? I may swim in it. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but we do need him back, and we need to start also understanding that we may start the season without him. So we had, several explosive passes. They look good. One of the ones to Brendan Thompson may have been a sack in the game. Trey Pipkins was beat on one of those. Branson Taylor and Logan Taylor both surrendered to pressure. But there was one opposing defender that generated 4 pressures on his own. So the injury cloud brought itself over here, but I've already gone over all that stuff. So Kyle Kennard limped off with the trainer. Slater has now missed 8 straight practices. Now, Harbaugh says that he expects Slater back this weekend. Okay. I will believe it when I see it. So Herbert and the skill players, I think the offense is clicking. That looks great. But again, guys, we're not going to be able to tell unless there's real NFL football. I mean, practices, we're not tackling, we're not hitting the quarterbacks and stuff. And I want to see it in real time. All right, guys, let's talk about some predictions. So everybody knows Kalshi is the sponsor of Chargers Daily, and a place where I spend way too much time each day because betting and prediction markets are a source of income for me. And before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions, right? We're talking about the Chargers, who wins the divisions, who makes the playoffs, who's lifting the Super Bowl trophy at the end of the season. On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. So I went back today, and I've already bet on the Chargers Super Bowl. I think I sprinkled on that. But I looked at the AFC Championship odds. Right now, the Chargers are trading at 12%, which means that if you put down $100, it would pay out $855 if they take home the AFC Championship title. So on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market. There's no house, no pit bosses. And as the probabilities change, you can buy in and out of positions, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. So download the Kalshi app and use code FANARCHFOOTBALL to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI, Kalshi, trade on anything. Y'all think we can win the AFC West? Or AFC? I think we can win the AFC West for sure. I think Broncos are going to regress. We'll see. All right, so we talked about Keenan Allen going to the Colts last year. And I started thinking about sort of the passing of the torch. You know, I don't think it's ever really talked about, but when a player is now in charge and they're required to step up, you know, I don't really think about what these players become. Look, we look back at all the greats. Think about Keenan Allen, you know, after his second and third year. We didn't really see, we don't know what these players are going to become. But Keenan leaves behind 122 targets and 81 receptions, 777 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Ladd still led the Chargers last year in yards, even though he didn't lead in targets. He caught 15 fewer passes and still did that. Now, he enters as the unquestioned wide receiver 1, but I think that the wide receiver 1 with him and Q is pretty interesting. You know, I was going back through their snap shares last year, and, you know, there's a couple of things that really stood out. I mean, both of them played 85% of snaps, so almost. Quentin played 84%, then Ladd played 85% of snaps. So, I mean, they're full-time players. They don't come off the field much. But one of the things that I really want to remind you guys is that Ladd has shown us a ceiling. Remember his rookie year, 82 catches, 1,149 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Those are Chargers rookie records. And he added 197 yards in his first playoff game. Y'all remember that game? That was sweet. Well, Ladd was sweet. But his 2025 production got G-road. He still had 12 end zone targets, which was 7th amongst wide receivers, which we don't really think about that with Ladd, do we? Because Quentin always ends up with the touchdowns. But 12 for a guy like Ladd, I'll take it in an offense that was G-road. The only thing that really stuck out to me is that last year I started looking up contested catches. Now, look, Ladd's going to do most of his dirty work when it comes after the catch. We all know that he can separate, and that's what's up. But one of the things with his contested catches is that he only caught 20% of them. He's not going to be this guy. Where did they go? He's not going to be one of these guys that's going to just catch every contested catch. Trey Harris caught 75% of his. Trey Harris had 8. Keenan Allen caught 62%. Gadsden caught 44%. Quentin Johnston caught 38%. Will Dissly caught 25%. And Ladd was dead last on the team outside of Tucker Fisk. He had 10 contested catches and only came down with 2. So what I want to see is how can he catch the ball without having a player already on top of him? I don't want the defender to be like white on a race on him. I need him with some space to separate. And I think that's the Ladd that we're going to see this year. And so I think that his role is going to change. So going back, his slot opportunities fell by about 7% last year. Now that's the Keenan Allen effect because we all know Keenan can play out of the slot. But I want to see Ladd separation and yak ability in this offense. Let Q and Trey do the outside work, but I don't want Ladd to come off on 2 receiver sets. On 2 receiver sets, I want to see a rotation of those 3. I want Q and Trey. I want them all to be a little bit. And so I want to see how that affects him. Now, Keenan caught 34 passes on 3rd down last season. Those were 29 first downs, NFL highs. And so that's where Ladd's going to have to he's going to have to step up. We need those first downs. So look, emotionally it sucks losing Keenan Allen, but I think Ladd's got to step up, be that dependable resource for Herbert, and then go from there. All right, Thursday night, we have a game. We got a game Thursday night. So, what does that mean? It's a dress rehearsal for Justin Herbert and other starters. So here's what I know about Thursday. Herbert and the healthy starters will open the game Thursday. Harbaugh plans to remove them after one series, and the starters are scheduled for 2 series against the Rams. So this is going to be the first look of Herbert in the McDaniel offense. So I want to see those quick throws. Harbaugh's calling a dress rehearsal. I'm surprised he didn't come up with some funny quote. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Harbaugh is so beyond me when it comes to quotes, I can't even imitate the guy. But I do not care about the box score. What I want to see is how fast we run in this offense. Now, remember, McDaniel doesn't run quick tempo offenses. He runs fast passes. I don't know if that made sense. So it's not like we're just like getting up to the ball. That's not what McDaniel does. It's going to be just the way that the play arc starts. He's going to be in charge of getting the ball out quickly. And so I do not care as much about what the box score shows. I want to see, do we look like a competent offense? Is the offensive line staying away from penalties? Remember, some of the guys that aren't going to make the team really struggled last week against Houston. But I want to see no sacks, and I want to see no wasted timeouts. Now, again, with our coaching staff, they're good enough. We shouldn't have a problem with timeouts. But I would love to just see one clean goal. End it with a field goal. Not that's very hard for Dicker to do, because he could probably do it from the other side of the field. But let's watch how the playmakers are functioning, too. Let's see how the rotations are working. Hampton's going to start. How does he look? But I do not want hero ball. I want smart 5, 8-yard plays from the passing game, 3.5 to 4.5 yards on the rushing game. I'm not going to be greedy on this one. So we'll have an update with the Batish injury, but let's see how Slaughter does, because it sounds like he's just going to move to center. And then what's going to happen with the quarterback 2 battle? Remember, we saw last week, Trey Lance, man, you're going to have to get it together, brother. I really hope DJ goes first. I would like to see them flip the halves. You know, last week Trey went first. So I want to see DJ start after Herbert, and then Lance comes in. So I like that we're going to play Herbert a drive. Let's just hope we can avoid the injuries. All right, guys, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it is what it is. It's a game of football, so we'll go from there. I'll be back on Thursday. I did not do a bet for today because I didn't like anything on the board. I'm not going to force bad bets. So I will follow up with our Phillies bet from today once that goes, and then we'll be talking more stuff on Couch You Later. All right, team, I'll catch you later. You know what it is. Go Bolts.